Welcome to Voiceover Movies That Move Us. I'm your host, Heather Bigley, and I talk to people about the movies that made a mark, led to cinematic epiphanies. And it's not always the movie you'd expect. Today's movie is The Fountain from director Darren Aronofsky. It took him 6 years to actually bring it to release and was released in 2006. In the film, Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz play three different couples tied to each other over time who are embattled by different desperate challenges and are contemplating what it means to die, what it means to live. The Fountain is celebrated for its practical effects in a time when digital and computer animation sort of have overwhelmed everything we do in film. This feels like a wonderful reminder of the creativity and problem solving of an analog era. My guest today is Danor Gerald. You might remember him from the Book of Clarence episode. He's an actor, writer, producer, director, and co-hosts and produces the award-winning TV series Roots, Race, and Culture for PBS Utah. We're going to talk about the whole movie today, as always, which in some ways is really circular and layered, so it's hard to say there's an ending. But if you don't want to know about everything that happens before you see the film, go see the film and then come back and join the conversation. Stick around after the discussion for more movie recs.
I saw it and I was just in love. Like, it's visually arresting. That's how I describe it to people. I go, it will put you in handcuffs visually and you just can't get out of it. It'll be like nothing you've ever seen before. And I'll tell them the story is just like really profound. Like, if you just sit back and just let it happen, it's going to be this really cool, emotive experience for you.
Right.
And you almost can't believe what you're seeing. Right. And I think that's because it's not CGI.
Yeah.
I think somehow because it's done in practical ways, everything's practical instead of computer generated, it has a grip that nothing created in a digital world can have.
Right.
And it will not let you go as long as you're letting go and allowing it to do what it's doing. It's extremely well written. There's really not that much dialogue if you really think about it.
No.
So every word has meaning and value, and it's written with some really poetic lines.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know. You say it took 6 years for them to make this movie. You did some research on that, and I wonder how much the script continued to evolve, because I'm like, this is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It really is. And after that, I was like, I'll tell people, I go, this made Darren Aronofsky my favorite modern director. Before that, it was always Steven Spielberg, you know. And then I saw this and I was like, oh, this guy.
Right.
Whoa. You know, and even Matthew Libatique, the cinematographer, became one of my favorites and he's done some great work.
Yeah.
But he turned popsicles into log cabins in this movie. So that, along with the fact that it's a tree of life narrative kind of metaphor,
right,
which I am obsessed with the tree of life.
Oh, talk to me about that.
The tree of life has such a central role in our whole mythology, the Judeo-Christian mythology. And I think it kind of, people don't recognize how big of a deal it is, you know. But this movie does.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the movie. And even in the Book of Mormon, you know, Lehi's vision, the tree of life is central, paramount to the beginning of that story.
Right.
Right? Everything that really transpires that's spiritually transcendent for Lehi and Nephi has to do with the tree of life.
Yeah. And it's about family.
Exactly. Which this movie is about
very
family.
Much about, yeah.
One of the things I loved about the movie was that it really has it all. It has everything you could want in a movie. It's got these grand, epic, thematic things. It's got visuals that will just blow your mind. It's got love, romance. It's got some really sort of conquistador, you know, action in it. It's one of the best films ever made.
The director is Darren Aronofsky. He had done, up to this point, some smaller films. I mean, he was known for Pi, so if you're watching sort of the alternative scene, he'd done Pi in the 1990s. Mm-hmm. I mean, since then, he's known for The Whale and Mother and Black Swan, and he has a new film coming out called Caught Stealing with Austin Butler.
The Wrestler.
Oh, he did The Wrestler.
Yeah.
He did The Fighter.
Right.
So maybe two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
So he's become established, but I think at this time he was still fairly independent, and indie. And I think what's interesting here about the film is I think you could call it a sci-fi film.
Yeah, for sure.
But it covers 1,000 years.
Yep.
The two actors, Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz,
yeah.
who's just beautiful.
Stunning performance.
Yeah, and they end up playing a couple who sort of meet again and again, right, over time.
Yep.
And at one point, they're Queen Isabella and a conquistador. And then in modern times, they're a researcher whose wife is dying of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that story, for me, I think it's supposed to feel close to home, right?
Yeah.
Like, when your loved one is dying, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's really seems to be the story.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to spend time with him. That's all she really wants.
Yeah.
And he wants to fight the disease. And so he's researching, and in fact, that research is getting in the way of him being able to say goodbye to her.
Yeah.
So it's really incredibly poignant,
Mm-hmm.
sort of dilemma,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I kind of, I want to get into a lot of things, but I was thinking about this before you came in. It does seem a really masculine pursuit,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to fight this thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's going to actually be easier for me than spending time
Mm-hmm.
and facing death.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. As a man, what do you think of that idea?
Well, I think you're spot on in the sense that as men, we're sort of wired to fix things. So you're right. He's just doing what feels like his job is to, like, I've got to fix this for you. Like, I'm supposed to help you. I'm supposed to support you. I'm supposed to, and if you're dying and I have the research ability and stuff, I'm going to try to fix it. Right. And it becomes a bit of an obsession for him. But it speaks to a larger theme of, like, one thing I love about this movie is it's extremely romantic. This idea of being together with this person forever is very much what he's trying to achieve. There's probably a little bit of homage to, there is no probably about it, definitely an homage to Eastern philosophy because of some things, visuals that you see. There's an homage to South American, rituals and things, which is deeply rooted in the movie. But then there's also that Western thing, which is the doctor trying to fix things. They're all trying to find this way to transcend death.
Right.
And it's just kind of something that every man has ever done, trying to live forever.
Yeah. Well, and, as a doctor, Hugh Jackman's character, his name is Tommy. As the conquistador, he's Tomas, and he's doing the same thing, right? Queen Isabella says, "Are you going to save my kingdom?"
Yeah.
And that's what sends him out to search and find in the jungles of what is now Guatemala, probably, to look for this Mayan temple and to find the tree of life.
Yeah.
And then that ties so nicely into the doctor is working with some kind of chemical compound found from the bark of a tree
in Guatemala.
Yes.
It's
which
so poetic.
We might think of as the tree of life.
Yeah.
And then we have what we might think of as the tree ship. I've seen it referred to.
The tree ship.
Later, he's on a spaceship, and he has the tree of life with him.
Yep.
And the tree of life is dying, but he's eating the bark occasionally, right, to keep himself alive.
Yep.
And they're sort of traveling in this spaceship, which is a clear, like, translucent
fishbowl.
Yes, fishbowl. Him and the tree. But he's traveling on that, and he's trying to get to a nebula.
A dying star.
Yeah. The Orion Nebula. It's also known to the Mayans as Xibalba, and so it's supposed to be the afterlife.
Yep.
And there's just all these ways that plot-wise, this film ties in and wants to, like, reinforce and layer this sort of, what's our relationship with the one we cherish the most? What's our relationship with our own life, their death, our death?
Yeah.
And how do we reconcile the fact that we get some things for such a short time, and we have to be transformed in order to understand or to return to them?
Yeah. Death is the road to awe.
Yes. That is such a gorgeous line. And I don't know what to call the person who says it. He's the Mayan ritual.
He is the cherubim with the flaming sword who guards the tree of life.
Right.
In the Bible.
Lovely. I didn't make that connection. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's right there.
And when we see him, he's a Mayan priest. Right.
Right. But he's got a flaming sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's guarding the tree.
Right.
And he is like not going to let anybody near it because God told him nobody can take this.
Yeah.
You know, nobody can eat this fruit anymore. And so when he sees him, and there's a cool moment in there where he sees him as a conquistador and he's ready to just dispatch him. Right. And then he stops as this flaming sword is swinging at Hugh Jackman's head, and a few things happen, and then you go. So it's like a patchwork, a quilt. Yeah. A quilted narrative. Yeah. Where there's these patterns that repeat, and so you go back and forth, and when you stand back and look at it, you see it makes sense. But up close, you're kind of like, huh? And so. But he sees him in that transcendent space where he is on the ship, that Eastern sort of like guru sort of moment. And he says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. You were the first father. And he sacrifices himself, right? Right. And it's to me, the poetry and the thematic stuff in this movie just is just spectacular. And I mean, honestly, I cried like 4 times watching it this last time in preparation for this. Yeah. Because it's not only these really powerful themes, like you mentioned, that there's a real part of our real life here, you know, life and death and cancer and all and loved ones, but it's also this space where these actors, I feel like they did what's very difficult to do. And I'm an actor, I'm a professional actor, done a lot of stuff, so I know this from experience. Right. It's hard to completely submerge yourself into a performance, a character. When you're shooting film, it's actually easier in theater. You know, but in film, there's so much starting and stopping and people and lights and cameras and okay, redo that. And there's extreme close-ups in this movie, a lot of them. Yeah. And when the camera's that close to you, it's kind of hard to like be in the moment. But these actors give these performances, particularly when Rachel Weisz, this time around when I watched it again, Rachel Weisz in the bed after she goes to the hospital and she has the seizure. Right. The monologue she gives.
Pen and ink for writing. It's all done except the last chapter. I want you to help me.
How?
Finish it. Finish it.
I don't know how it ends.
You do. You will.
Stop.
Remember Moses Morales?
Who?
The Mayan guide I told you about.
From your trip?
Yeah. The last night I was with him, he told me about his father who had died. But Moses wouldn't believe it.
Is he?
No, listen. Listen. He said if they dug his father's body up, he would be gone. They'd planted a seed over his grave. The seed became a tree. Moses said his father became part of that tree. He grew into the wood, into the bloom. And when a sparrow ate the tree's fruit, his father flew with the birds. He said death was his father's road to awe. That's what he called it. The road to awe. Now, I've been trying to write the last chapter, and I haven't been able to get that out of my head.
Why are you telling me this?
I'm not afraid anymore, Tommy. I asked Lily if I could be buried at her farm.
No, stop it. I want you to be with me.
I am with you. Look. I'll always be with you. I promise. Will you stay with me tonight?
Yeah, I'll stay. I'll stay.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things I've ever seen an
Yeah.
actor do. It is so amazing, so devastatingly beautiful. And it's like, this thing, I don't know what it is about this movie, but it speaks to me so much. It just pulls me right into the place that the actors are at. But it's so much of their performances. It's great because each actor gets to play 2 or 3 different places and
Right.
periods of time and characters.
Well, let's follow up on that. I knew you were an actor, but I didn't think of this until this moment. What would it be like to play 3 different roles like that? And as we know, I'm sure they shot most of, if we have to put Queen Isabella costumes on, then we're probably going to do all the Queen Isabella
All the
stuff.
Queen Isabella stuff together.
together.
And Hugh Jackman has 3 different haircuts.
Right, yes, I know. He gets shaved very bald at one point. So I'm sure that was the last thing they did.
Exactly.
But how would that, for you as an actor, what would that mean as you were preparing for that?
It's such a gift because I've done a movie where I played one character in 2 different spaces in time and aging wise, like as a teenager and then as an adult, he was incarcerated, so it was many years later. He was an old man. But it just gives you this deeper sense of connection to the text because you get to understand this person's life cycle and experience in a holistic way. And so it's really wonderful to have that kind of opportunity to play the same person, but at different aspects of their personality because they're in different places and times. And that's what you do as an actor. Like so often we ended up getting cast because you look like this or you sound like this. And a lot of people, creatives or people in the space of studio, director, producer, blah, blah, they're actually not as creative as you think. They kind of put people in boxes and they like to just keep them there like chess pieces.
Well, it's like your visual look is a shorthand and I want a specific shorthand and I can't think past the shorthand that's already in my brain. Right. So I don't need you to do anything interesting.
Yes.
Just do the thing I need you to do.
Yeah. And every once in a while you come across a director who allows you to have that kind of freedom and explore the reality of the character from your own understanding. I mean, obviously you have to stick with the text and, mostly, but you still have to make it feel real and organic, right?
Yeah.
And when you do that, it creates such a living being in front of the camera versus a caricature or a, sort
Type.
of cardboard cutout of this personality. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I want to go back to that tree ship again.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because I looked up how they filmed that, and essentially, the actors are performing in front of a green screen. The tree was something that they had created. It's an actual practical set.
Yeah.
But then the green screen layering is these shots of chemical changes happening in petri dishes, and they used macro photography to really get close to those. So that to me just boggles the mind. And this idea that even though in 2006 you could have done this with 3D CGI, they're going to choose a practical effect And one of the things I read, the cinematographer says, we loved it because those chemical reactions are under the same laws of physics as like as
a nebula.
As a nebula.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to look organic. It's going to look ethereal.
Yes.
And you're not even going to be able to place what you're seeing.
Yeah.
You're just going to assume, oh, that must be space,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I love that idea. I love this idea of choosing something that you don't have control over. That's the other thing, is they wouldn't have had control over what actually happens in that reaction.
Yes, yes.
They just have to experiment.
Yep.
I mean, that's...
It's gonna behave naturally.
Yeah.
It's like putting a kid in front of a camera. He's just gonna do what a kid does. It's not,
Right.
you know what I mean? So that's again one of the things about this film that's so beautiful. How do you understand the ocean? You understand one drop of water,
Right.
and then you understand the whole ocean. It's the same concept, but they just take that principle of physics or reality or whatever laws that the universe operates under, and it applied it in this technical world of filmmaking.
I love how that idea of using this tiny, tiny microorganism
Yeah.
to create space ties into the themes of the film,
Ooh.
right? Like you have to get really close and really tiny, and you have to experiment, and you have to like let it happen. And that transformation is going to take you to...
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
And we could say take you to space, or we could say take you to the afterlife,
Yeah.
or take you to heaven, or take you to hell, or
Right.
whatever, wherever he's headed on the tree ship. I love that
That's
term now.
true.
I'm going to use that all the time. Wherever he's headed on the tree ship, whatever that means, the only way to get there is through like really close attention to something you can't fully control.
Yeah, or understand,
Yeah.
right? It's, people say like, oh, you're afraid of, what you don't know. And I just saw a quote the other day. It said, no, it's not that we're afraid of what we don't know. We're afraid that what we do know will end.
Change is scary.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's this immortal man who, was consumed by partaking this tree of life, the sap from this tree of life. And you thought, at the moment in the movie, you're like, oh, he's going
Right.
to have his Eve. Another beautiful line. And right before it happens, all of a sudden he gets buried. It's almost like baptism. He gets buried by this organic plant,
Yeah.
right? And it sort of sprouts from him and he becomes this thing. And then so in that burial, his rebirth is, him
Becoming a
1,000
tree.
years, becoming a tree. But then 1,000 years later, he's floating through space.
Right.
The best movies do this to me. They just sort of force you to sit back and let it just wash all over you,
Yeah.
like laying down on the beach. You just have to let the ocean have you.
Right.
And you have to let this movie have you, and then it'll all start to sort of become clear. But you really probably need to watch it twice, because the first time you're just spellbound, and then the second time you can start to,
Right.
make sense of it.
I want to go back to something you said, here he is, and then 1,000 years later. This film does a really fantastic idea of talking about us as eternal or immortal beings, right? Now, it uses a cosmology around that, like, oh, you have multiple lives that you live.
Yeah.
I don't know how invested I am in that idea.
Yeah,
but I
right.
do love the representation of you continue.
Yes.
You have opportunity to fix what you
Yeah.
couldn't solve before. I
Right.
love that idea, and I'm with the film for that.
Yeah.
And so this idea that eventually he's a yogi,
Right.
flying into a nebula,
Right.
to me actually is really resonant. Like
Yeah.
I haven't imagined my eternal life looking like that.
I don't think anybody has, except for Darren and
Yeah.
Matthew Levitique.
I'm ready if that's what it looks like. I think that's one of the things that's really interesting is this film doesn't look anything like a sci-fi film.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're very used to spaceships and we're used to robots and
Mechanisms.
yes, mechanisms. And this is more about the organic experience of our bodies and souls.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love that they're opening up. Here's a possibility, right? I think that's the thing is one of the things we might be afraid of, to go back, what we're afraid of when we think of death is we've kind of told ourselves stories about what that's going to look like, but we don't actually know.
No, we don't. The reality of it is this. When we die, we will get to see, hear, feel, experience that which we have never felt before. If we did, it was before we were born. And there's no way you will not be in a state of awe when you pass away and there's still more.
Right.
And you start to see it and experience it and become a part of it. That is a total state of awe. And so we really, if you think about that line, it's not just a beautiful, poetic little, thing that a screenwriter put in. It's a truth. The death is the road to awe.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I want to talk about another line, and this is from the Izzy character, and she says,
Tommy.
What, baby?
I wasn't afraid.
I know. You're very strong.
No. When I fell, I was full. Held.
and when I think about the women in my life who have died of cancer, how I hope that was an experience for them, as well as for the other people in my life who have died, that at some point, as they're getting ready for that great transformation, that they do feel held and full of love and not just the love they feel for others, but the love
that is felt for them.
Yeah, that the divine feels for them, that all of us feel for them, right? What a wonderful thing to look forward to.
Yeah.
And she's not scared anymore. And that's infuriating to her husband, right?
Right.
He wants to solve the problem.
He wants her to hold on for a little longer.
As he sees it. And she's trying to tell him the problem isn't death.
Yeah.
The problem is the fear.
And that's good.
It's Rachel Weisz is so beautiful, and she looks like an angel most of the time,
right.
And she's telling us all these truths. And yeah, I think for me, the film was so moving in what she's able to accomplish and what it reminded me of, made me think of.
I'm glad it was able to do that for you. And I think it's the kind of movie that will do what it needs to for any person who watches it with an open heart, open mind, and sort of like lets it wash over them.
Yeah.
Because that, I was thinking on the way here, life is defined by death. If there were no death, there would be no such thing as life.
Right.
Right? That's the only reason eternal life is so exciting, is because we have to die to recognize how precious life is.
Yeah.
And how beautiful it is and can be if we live it well. And so I agree. I think that certainly there's a place that we go to where we are held. I mean, in my opinion and in my belief system, it's the wide open arms of the Savior,
Yeah.
And the proof is in his hands. You can just see the scars.
Right.
And so like there's these things in that movie that, they don't really talk about Jesus at all. Not once. It's very much this whole
And I wouldn't say there's
mythology.
any kind of
Religious.
it doesn't feel overtly religious. We don't get a discussion of God
Right.
and no one's saying the words divinity.
Right.
It's the symbolism, right, that you've already mentioned that sort of works through the film that makes you go,
This movie made me think about the difference between preaching and teaching.
Talk to me about that.
Well, you watch some movies of any kind, doesn't matter, and they want to preach to you. They want to, tell you what you need to do and believe and da-da-da, whether it's something political or environmental or whatever. But this, it just allows you to learn. They just teach you through symbolism, through mythology, through experience, through emotion, through yearning. you know, and love. And it's like you're learning something without even fully understanding what it is or why you're learning it. But it just, because it speaks to us.
One of the things I'm thinking about is the light and dark representations, right?
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
Queen Izzy is lit with so much light.
Yeah.
We can't even see her pores anymore,
Yeah,
right?
at that one moment when she calls him to the quest. Yeah.
Yes, like she's so bright. And then as we see her in her different, incarnations, she's always got a spotlight on her, really brightly lit.
Yep.
And he's always in the dark.
Yeah.
Still searching, still trying to figure it out.
Still trying to find out until he does at the end of the movie. But this nebula that he approaches to have this experience, which I don't want to spoil anybody, but this is just a cool ending. But to me, it looks like a birth canal. What I would assume a birth canal probably looks like from the inside coming out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There's this light at the end of a tunnel.
Right.
And you're like, okay, what's over there? Give me out
Yes. Exactly. Terrifying. Another transformation. I didn't ask for all this.
Yeah. And so, but the stars, the beautiful images of the universe, which were created in a microscopic scale. But then you watch during the movie, there are things that look like that in the lighting, in the set design, and it's a pretty dark film most of the time.
Yeah.
So light has very specific value, and it's just kind of stunning to watch how they're able. Like there's a moment where he's rubbing the bark of the tree, and it just completely like seamlessly cuts to him, rubbing her arm,
right.
when he's trying to bathe her because she's sick, right? And the symbolism, because I think she becomes the tree, the third act, so to speak.
I can see that, yeah. Do you remember her funeral scene?
Yeah.
It's shot in bright white snow.
Yeah.
On a farm. A friend has said that she can be buried there.
Yeah. It's almost monochromatic. It's like almost in black and white.
The mourners are in black.
Yeah.
He's dressed in black. And then there's just bright white everywhere. Again, this reminder that she's achieved something, right? Like we have to continually associate her with this white light. And at some point I want to say revelation.
That's a good word. Yeah, they use that in there.
She's received some kind of confirmation that her death means something, and it means transformation, and he's still stuck. Right?
Oh yeah,
trying to fight for that. Those scenes when he is the conquistador. You talk about birth canal. When he goes up to that temple, and we have the guardian.
Yeah.
They're in this completely dark space, but behind the guardian is like this rectangle
of light. Yeah.
Like, are you going to be able to get past me to get to that?
Yeah.
And it seems doubtful at first.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then in the research center, like that is the darkest research center.
You're right. Like, is this a hospital or a morgue? What's going on?
Exactly. I think you guys need to turn this light up a little bit. But it's really fascinating. The one bright spot is when they reveal that they've been working on a chimp.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I was actually really astonished. Like,
you thought it was a person.
Well, they kept talking like, we have him, he's ready.
Donovan, right.
And I was like, okay, poor Donovan. And then they reveal it's a chimp, and I'm like, oh, they are so way far. Like, they're at the very beginning of this process.
Yeah.
But he's shot with all this light. Of course, films are intentional.
Good ones are.
We know that.
Good ones are.
Yes. For the most part, they have to be. You're not handed that much money, right? If you haven't charted out all the things you're going to be doing.
Most of the time.
Right. You speak from experience, maybe. And so, but this film just really, like, the 6 years ended up giving Aronofsky time to really plan and visualize what he was going to do, so that the end product becomes, again, this like tightly fitted puzzle box.
Yeah.
That you just can turn over in your hand and work.
Oh, yeah. It's like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, and then you just keep learning things as you reevaluate it and reanalyze it.
So I got the feeling that he did a lot of research, right? And it made me think about, I'm writing a script currently. I need to do more research instead of just continually allowing my imagination and my understanding of things on the surface to run.
I have to say,
course.
I'm the kind of person who gets so into the research when I'm writing that then I never, I just go down all the rabbit holes.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be writing.
Yeah, well, and you forget kind of like, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
But, he had to do a lot of research into like several different, religious mythologies, Eastern, Western, South American. And I think that is how he was informed. But the fact that he had all of these visuals to tell the story instead of just putting it all into dialogue, and then weaving that together, like you said, because it goes back and forth through time and stories, and so it's a very intricate kind of dance that they did when they edited this thing. But when he had enough research and knowledge and understanding of these philosophies of different peoples of the world perspectives on eternal life, that it really carries a lot of weight. So all of those choices, like you said, visually, and I believe also in the actors' performances, are very intentional. Because the other thing about these performances is the specificity of them is profound. How
would we recognize that?
So no one says anything loosely, and there are a lot of pretty extreme close-ups. So that inhibits your ability to move, your ability to emote. Like, you can't raise your eyebrows too much because your face is the entire screen. So if you raise your eyebrows half an inch, it looks like it moved 3 feet, right? Yeah. And so when you watch their performances, they are speaking to each other through their eyes. And this time around, when I watched it again, understanding the story and sort of really, also I'm spiritually much more mature than I was, the last time I saw it. And so you actually get more out of it the more you understand your personal spirituality. And I'm watching it and I'm like, yeah, they didn't make any loose choices. Every choice in every line, even if it's just one cut for a person to say one word, they say it with a tonality and with an intention that it's just so specific that it kind of actually means something. Yeah. Right? Not just, of course, every line should mean something, but their performance of that line means something. It means something to do with where they are in their evolution and where we are in the evolution of the time of the story. And I actually will push back on that thing. I don't think it was a story of like reincarnation. I don't think they were the same people reincarnated over and over again. I feel like they were showing parallel lives, but in the end, it was one life. Okay. Right? And so maybe it is, maybe you're right, maybe it is reincarnation, but for some reason, I didn't interpret it that way. Mm-hmm. I think, it just comes across like these are two souls that are just intertwined and they just can't get away from each other. Yeah. And so because of that, they're always speaking in a way that speaks to the whole universe that they're in, right? The past, the present, and the future. The devil's in the details, right? And when you watch a performance that is truly informed, that's not just saying the lines. I mean, and that's why people think that, movie stars are just like really pretty people who know how to say their lines, and they have a certain charm or charisma or whatever. But in this movie, especially, you watch and Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz deliver very detailed, nuanced performances. Yeah. There's a scene in the bathtub, right? And it's kind of the closest thing to a love scene in the movie. And you get the feeling of what she's going through. Like, she's on the verge of death, and he is so busy trying to keep her alive that he's not keeping her company.
Yeah.
And, you know, he wants to leave because she's losing her sensitivity to hot and cold. Like, he puts a really hot sponge on her skin and she
Doesn't
nothing.
hurt. Yeah.
Nothing. And he gets really upset and worried. And he's like, we got to go see a doctor, da, 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 da. And she's like, no, don't leave. And she like grabs him and just gives him a kiss. And next thing you know, she just yanks him into the tub, so to speak. And,
Right.
and you know, they kiss and stuff. And I watched it and I could just, I'm not a woman, obviously, but I could feel the longing for feeling
Intimacy.
and feeling that she had. Because she's like, if I can't feel hot and cold temperatures, at least let me feel what it's like to be loved, right? And she won't let him go. And she's like, she's not even just kissing him just because she loves him. She's kissing him because she just needs to feel something.
Yeah.
And he's the only way she can get it.
Yeah.
Right. And she kind of subdues his need to help her. And it's to me, it was like a very emotional sort of moment because I could just feel how desperate she was. I mean, if you're dying,
Mm-hmm.
the one person you love the most is like just too busy. You're like, no,
Yeah. Come back.
and please don't leave me. Right. You know, I don't have much time. And, you know, so like that performance, like watching that and several other moments between the two of them all throughout the movies, many, like it's just endless moments of like, whoa.
Yeah.
It creates this humanity in the film that is just like, it just grabs onto your heart and won't let it go. And that's what good cinema is meant to do.
Right.
But repetition has a way of making something clear, even though it's the same thing that you just saw. Like I always, you know, I don't always, but I remember a few years ago, one of the big revelations for me was that we have a hard time as human beings sometimes seeing what's right in front of our face. It's right there, plain as day, and we can't see it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of ways that we can talk about that, you know, socio-politically and economically and in relationships. And just, it's so hard for us to see what's right in front of us sometimes. And that repetition that they do allows us as the audience to see what the characters can't see and to feel what we need to feel to try to see it in our own lives. That's what he's trying to help us do. It's like, look, no, really, look, you know? And the other thing is to hear the music in this film.
Oh,
the score
it's gorgeous.
is phenomenal. And another profound thing for me spiritually that I sort of was revealed to me is how important listening is. The thing is that God assigns or delegates everything. He delegated our salvation to his only begotten son. Everything's delegated except for one thing. There's one thing that he will not allow anyone else to do for him. Listen to his children. We pray to him directly, and he listens to our prayers. He doesn't want anybody else to listen for him.
Yeah.
That's how important listening is. Really listening to understand people. That it's the one thing that God, to be God, will not and cannot let anybody else do. Because what is it to him? It is an absolute symphony of life. That's why he hears it all the time.
Yeah.
It's music to his ears.
Thanks to Danor for introducing this movie to me. That line, "Death is the road to awe," is going to stay with me for a really long time. I mentioned to Danor that many women in my family die of cancer. And as someone observing their journey and thinking about what my journey is going to look like, this movie made me consider once again how they spent the last part of their lives, how they tried to create for themselves a good death. My cousin was in her 30s when she died, now almost a decade ago. She spent the last years of her life trying all kinds of new things. She went sailing in the Caribbean. She hiked through the vortexes in Sedona. She traveled to Amsterdam to see Anne Frank's house. And she wrote and wrote. She wrote plays. She kept a blog. She had a personal journal. And she even tried as many drug trials as she could, up until the last month before her death. She ended up dying in September. It was a beautiful time of year in Tennessee, and it was only a few days after a Labor Day celebration where her family and friends gathered together, not to say goodbye, but to encourage her and to love her, because we hoped there was still time left for her here. And she was wise and thoughtful and still very much herself. Silly and affectionate and snarky and short-tempered. She still had her flaws and shortcomings, right? She was still her. What makes a good death? We will spend our lives discovering that as we watch others die and as we prepare ourselves. Time for some recommendations. The first of these is A Tree of Life from Terrence Malick. It's about a mid-century Texas family, and in that family, the boy is struggling to understand his parents' relationship and his father's moral ambiguity, an ambiguity that was seen as normal and masculine at the time the film takes place. The film includes the Big Bang and dinosaurs and nebula and an approximation of a heavenly reunion, not just with family, but with younger versions of yourself. It's gorgeous and contemplative and heartbreaking. Another film with cool practical effects that wants to explore death, life, and the beyond is Jean Cocteau's Orphée, which reimagines the Greek myth of Orpheus set in 1950s Paris. It was released in 1950, and so the special effects are, again, practical effects. Very cool, that have had a huge influence on lots of other filmmakers, but they're helping create that strangeness of death and the other world where the dead reside. Lastly, I have to recommend Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire, or in German, it would be Der Himmel über Berlin, which is The Heaven Over Berlin. It's from 1987. It's his most popular film, and in fact was remade in the 1990s as a Nick Cage Meg Ryan romance called City of Angels. But the original film is this dreamy look at the life of angels who congregate on buses and in libraries, places where people are really thinking, really contemplating. And one of these angels, played by the everyman Bruno Ganz, decides to leave heaven behind for this human he's fallen in love with. Peter Falk is there. If you don't know who that is, think Columbo. And in fact, he references Columbo because he plays himself. But also there is the Berlin Wall. This was released 2 years before the Berlin Wall came down in 1989. And you can see it everywhere. The movie moves between black and white and color to help visualize the difference of perspective between the angels and the humans, but also between like really thoughtful existential voiceover and punk rock music. You'll love it or you'll hate it. My husband calls it Wings of Boredom, but you should definitely see it. Voiceover is produced by BYU Radio, and this episode was edited by Aaliyah Alexander. Her very last one, thank you, Aaliyah, and Spencer Boyer. I'm your host, Heather Bigley.